Hello everyone, MTG Lore Seeker here, and as I'm recording this, it's the 24th of August, just after Wizards of the Coast did their Showcase 2021 livestream, an hour-long event where they talked about upcoming products and set releases going into the year 2022. I wanted to talk about some of the stuff they announced, not for the product side or the mechanical side, but the lore side and the implications it holds. Please forgive me, as I'm not exactly great with reviewing these kind of things ad hoc or ad lib, whatever the hell you want to call it. But I just want to give my thoughts. I've had a bit of time to think about it, and I wanted to share those thoughts with all of you. With that said, let's dive right in. So before we begin, if you have not seen this live stream, there will be a link in the description below. Go watch that. Alternatively, there's an article on the Mothership going over all the information I'm about to talk about. Go ahead and pause the video and go give that stuff a read/watch, whichever you like, so that you're caught up and you're able to understand what I'm talking about as we go through this. First up on the agenda is the double release of Innistrad Midnight Hunt and Innistrad Crimson Vow. Now, with the death of Avacyn, the ravaging of the world by Emrakul, and the dissolution of the church into a smaller, weaker organization, Innistrad has definitely changed since we were last there, and I think these two sets should hopefully highlight that. Wizards did a bit of teasing in Midnight Hunt, talking about how the people of the world are reverting to darker, older magic in order to stave off the night and protect themselves from the monsters. I'm looking forward to seeing a different side to the people of Innistrad. You know, their faith was destroyed, their church was dissolved. Sigarda's the only real major angel left in the world for them to look to for protection. So the idea that they're turning to different types of magic, different types of folk traditions and superstitions to protect themselves from the monsters that are ever eager to devour them. I'm very much looking forward to that, very much looking forward to the Harvest Festival kind of aesthetic. I believe Sigarda was associated with that prior, so maybe she's getting a bit more prominent in their lives and in their faith and traditions as time moves forward. Now, on to Crimson Vow. This one I have a bit more speculation for. Crimson Vow promises to have the most important wedding on Innistrad ever seen, and I think it's all but confirmed that this is between Olivia Voldaren and Sorin Markov. And I think there's a good reason for that. I think Olivia and Sorin are trying to consolidate the remaining strength of their vampire families after the destruction left behind by Emrakul and the scouring of the land in the last Innistrad set. Now, I'm not entirely sure how they came to agree about this. The last time these two met, Olivia left Sorin stuck in a wall and declared herself like the Lady of Innistrad, and he was not too happy with her, and knowing Sorin, he's definitely the kind of guy to come back and chop her head off or disintegrate her, whatever it is Sorin does to people who piss him off. So I'm very curious to see how exactly these two are going to get wedded. Now, it might not be Sorin and Olivia. It's definitely going to include Olivia. She's featured in a rather extravagant outfit on all of the promotional art we've seen of her. And Sorin's definitely in the set, but maybe he's not the one getting married to her. Maybe it's someone else. I don't know, but Sorin just seems like the most obvious candidate to me, barring the confusion of how they agreed to wed without cutting each other's throats out. I am a bit curious to see what caused this marriage to become a thing. You know, what could have caused Olivia and Sorin, because I do think it's going to be Sorin. What caused these two to get together? What caused them to decide that this kind of union was necessary? Is it just to consolidate their houses after the devastation caused by Emrakul? Is there a new threat we're not seeing? Maybe another rival vampire house that's seeking to take over the areas and the influences that they both used to have? Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something we haven't seen yet. Maybe it's something we won't see until the release of the set, but I am still super curious about it. Now we can move on to the juicy bits. The 4 sets announced for 2022. Kamigawa, Neon Dynasty, Streets of New Capenna, Dominaria United, and The Brothers' War. Let's start from the top. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, taking place 2,000 years after the events of the initial Kamigawa set. It is a complete re-envisioning of the Eastern aesthetic. Kamigawa is being, taken upside down, and instead of traditional Japanese mythos, fantasy, and all the mysticism that comes with it, it looks like we're getting a Cyberpunk 2077 meets Magic the Gathering shitfest. Now, I want to be as positive about this as possible. I want to be positive about all of these sets. Wizards just makes it difficult, especially since the splash image we get is not appealing to me at all. The little raccoon thing, just why? Why is it there? We don't know a whole lot about this set currently. We know that this guy is the new Planeswalker, and he's going to be the face of the set, and that Kamigawa has a new Emperor, someone that we're familiar with. Now, the pessimist inside of me wants to say that the obvious answer is it's Nicol Bolas, and Wizards somehow frees him from the prison and sets him up as the Emperor of Kamigawa for shitty reasons. But the optimist in me, what I hope happens is that Tamiyo is somehow the Empress of Kamigawa, which I would find very interesting. I'm not entirely sure how Kamigawa went from spirit world meets human world, all kinds of interesting samurai, all kinds of interesting tribes, to cyberpunk, but I'm sure we'll learn more about this as the set comes closer to release. It's Grey Fox. He looks like fucking Grey Fox. That's it. Moving on. Streets of New Capenna is the next set after Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and let me say, old Abi looks absolutely snazzy in a business suit. Here he is, just absolutely towering over some unlucky bastard. I want to say that's Tybalt. I know it's not actually Tybalt, but the idea of Ob Nixilis just beating the shit out of Tybalt and leaving him like that puts a smile on my face. New Capenna is it's the next theme park world, I'll say it. It's the next theme park world we're going to. Unlike Kamigawa, which is just cyberpunk the set, New Capenna is going to be crime movie the set, and it's going to be an entire world based around crime families and crime syndicates. The setting is simple enough, I suppose. New Capenna was a city built by angels, but now it's run by 3 different demon crime families, or 3 color crime families. It's a new wedge set. That's it. There we go. In the live stream, they said that this set has significance to Elspeth. The city has significance to Elspeth. I don't know if they were trying to imply that this is her home. I hope they aren't, because that would be spitting all over her backstory, where she was born on a world that was ravaged by Phyrexians, and this would directly contradict it, since I don't see Phyrexians here, and I don't think Phyrexians were mentioned at all in the prompt, at all in the live stream. If this is somehow Elspeth's homeworld, and Phyrexians are not here, I'm going to go, well, look at that. WotC retconned something else. Now, what I hope happened is that this is just another one of Elspeth's stops on her grand journey across the multiverse looking for a home, and she spent some time as a crime kingpin. But I know that it is most likely not going to be the case. This will most likely be retconned to be her homeworld, and we'll be left wondering what happened to the Phyrexian part of her backstory. Now, Ob Nixilis being featured so prominently here is interesting to me. He is definitely the kind of character to capitalize on a situation like this and set himself up as a crime kingpin on a random world. He really does look freaking snazzy. Like he was meant for this. Ob Nixilis, the mob boss, is probably going to be a card name, and I'm looking forward to that. If only slightly, just because it just feels so right for him. He's always been that kind of talking down to you kind of villain, and having him as the head of a crime syndicate almost seems perfect. At the same time, I'm kind of dreading what Elspeth's connection to this place could be, but I suppose that'll be more information for us to find out later. Moving on. We have basically no information whatsoever on Dominaria United, so instead of talking about that, I'm going to talk about the next set. After that, the Brothers' War. This is going to be modern WotC's re-envisioning of the Brothers' War. Now, if you're a friend of mine, if you've talked to me on Discord at all, or maybe if you've read some of the stuff I've typed on websites, social media, etc., you'll know that I'm a huge fan of the Brothers' War. The comics, the Antiquities War comics, the Brothers' War comics, the Brothers' War novel, and the entire story that surrounds Urza and his history with Mishra, and all the things that entails. During the live stream, Wizards of the Coast, I can't remember who said it, but they basically said that they've never covered the Brothers' War before, that this was unexplored, and I went, what? You guys had 2 comics and a novel about it. What are you talking about? So it looks like they're going to be retconning some chunks of the Brothers' War. I'm not exactly looking forward to that. They're going to be retelling the story. I mean, on one hand, I'm excited. You know, I'm always glad to see more of Urza. I'm always glad to see more of the conflict between him and Mishra, and, you know, how it affected not just their family, the nations they were a part of, but Dominaria as a whole. But on the other hand, this is modern WotC. And in the last 3 to 4 years, they've done a fantastic job at putting out lackluster sets. I'll be honest. Ikoria, Eldraine, Theros Beyond Death. It just hasn't been impressive. And along the way, the lore has definitely gotten worse. So the idea that they want to retell the Brothers' War from a modern perspective, that really does worry me. It genuinely does. And the art that they show, it looks sanitized almost. Like, this does not resemble art that reminds me of the Brothers' War. It doesn't resemble the gritty fantasy art that I remember associating with Urza. Like, these Thopters don't look like Urza's Thopters. These look like, I don't know, flying pods. I want to remain optimistic. I really do. I genuinely do. I don't like being the most negative person around when it comes to new set releases. Even though if you were on the Discord as this stuff was being released, I was basically screaming. I don't like being negative. I genuinely don't. But this fills me with dread. It genuinely does. I'm not entirely sure how they could possibly retell the story and make it good, but I'm hopeful. Maybe there will be a new novel, maybe telling the story from a different angle, maybe about how Titania is aware of the destruction being caused by this far-off conflict as it grows closer, and maybe she wants to organize against it. Maybe it's the story more from Mishra's part of view, since most of the Brothers' War was from Urza's side of the story. I don't know. I am kind of curious, but at the same time, I am very much dreading the possibility of this making the Brothers' War story less. Let's move on before I grow more depressed over this. Mark Rosewater brings us a brand new silver-bordered set in Unfinity. Moving on, Dungeons & Dragons Battle for Baldur's Gate Commander Legends is the apparent full title of this set, and I have no idea why they thought that was a smart idea. It's a draft set, much like the original Commander Legends, so lore is basically going to be non-existent. And then we get into the stuff I'm dreading. Universes Beyond begins with Warhammer 40k. Now, I don't even know how to say this. I'm not exactly a huge Warhammer fan. I have 3 armies, I think. I have 2 armies. I've got 2 Warhammer armies that I've basically just sit and look at from time to time. I don't play the game exactly, but I am aware of it. I've been a huge fan of the lore for a while now. It's another tabletop game. You know, of course I'm tangentially interested in it. I don't think I said that word right. But even back when this was first announced, I was very much against this. The idea that we're getting 4 commander decks for Magic the Gathering featuring characters that exist entirely outside of the Magic spectrum is something I very much dread. We are entering an era where Nicol Bolas can be shot to death by the Astartes. And for people who enjoy the integrity of the lore, this is a massive blow to the IP and to the central identity of Wizards of the Coast's product. You know, there's plenty of people out there who are all for this. They're excited. They're like, no, there's no problem with it. But for people like me, people who want Magic the Gathering to stay Magic, this is basically a death sentence. Not as bad as The Walking Dead, which wasn't even remotely related to Magic. It was a failed TV show that lost popularity like 4 or 5 years ago that they were making cards for, which, why? But still, the idea of bringing in a non-Magic character, one that's not even related in any real way to Magic, and giving them decks and setting them up in the same system as Magic characters, that does not sit well with me one bit. It really doesn't. And then following that up, there's a whole Lord of the Rings set, not even decks, a set, featuring probably commander decks. Oh, actually, yes, it is. 4 commander decks and some secret layer drops. Lord of the Rings is great. I liked the books, I liked the movies, I liked the Hobbit cartoon, but it's not Magic. It's probably the closest crossover they've done so far to Magic, definitely more than Warhammer or Walking Dead, but it's still not Magic. It's not the same. It's just not the same. It's not the same setting. It's not the same type of fantasy, I think. It definitely collides really strongly with the Magic brand. And I genuinely do dread all of these crossovers, these universes beyond tumors. That's what they are. These are tumors on the Magic IP, slowly whittling away its creative identity. Which brings us to the worst part. Fortnite. They announced a Fortnite secret layer. Oh yeah, and a Street Fighter one, but they announced Fortnite secret layers. And there is really no greater insult, I think, to the Magic brand than to say, hey dog, you want some Fortnite stuff in your card game? This is cool, right? This is relevant. This is what the kids are after. I'm not entirely sure who in Wizards of the Coast was possessed with the idea of Fortnite being the crossover that had to happen. I'm not entirely sure who had the bright idea of doing this, but I sincerely and genuinely hope that they lose their job. Like, today. I hope that they lose their job today. I hope that something happens and they're fired within the next 4 or 5 hours. I hope that they are just completely ruined, because this is a giant middle finger, I think, to Magic the Gathering, its fans, and everybody who's hoped that this game could be as amazing as it used to be. Everybody who was hoping that Magic the Gathering would bounce back from the last few years of negativity, bannings, terrible sets, terrible story. This tells everybody who was hoping for something better, go fuck yourself. And it's unacceptable. I hate this. I hate everything about it. I really do. But let's move on before it bogs down more of my patience and makes me want to, drill a hole through my foot. Yeah, Chun-Li. Get those legs all the way up there. Yeah. Alright, last thing I'll talk about today is the Netflix show. Magic the Gathering's Netflix show, which, we've had some news about it recently. There's been a change of directors, I believe, and probably a change of focus. It looks like Gideon is going to be the main character of the Netflix show now, instead of Chandra. I'm not entirely sure why the shift happened. I was, for the last 2 or 3 years, very much under the impression that Chandra was going to be the main character. But I guess that changed, and now it's going to be Gideon. And in addition to confirmation that the series is still happening, it's coming out in late 2022 instead of 2021. Wonder why they pushed it back. But yes, it is confirmed to still be happening. And in addition to that, there will be a prequel novel detailing how Gideon and Jace met, even though I'm pretty sure we already know how they met, and how they go about solving problems, journeying across the multiverse. From the way they described it, it sounded very much like it'll be a Jace and Gideon buddy cop adventure. They're going to be butting heads, having all kinds of arguments, but at the same time doing good across the multiverse. And I genuinely am looking forward to this. I'm just kind of apprehensive about another magic novel. I mean, I hope it's going to be physical. I really do. A physical magic novel would be great, since that the last one did not go so well, did it? Looking at you, Forsaken. That's really all there is to talk about so far. What do you think about the upcoming set releases, upcoming products? Let me know below. Let me know if there's anything you're really excited for. Let me know if there's anything you're really dreading. Are there more crossovers that you're anticipating or perhaps hoping for? Let me know. I want to hear from you guys. This was just me rambling about brand new releases and getting some steam off my chest. So if I sound a bit more loony and unhinged than usual, it's really par for the course now, isn't it? Leave a like if you liked the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more. Have a great day, guys.